If you're out of the loop, then let me be your vessel, because I'm also out of the loop because I was away. I was away at Efteling, so which is a theme park in the Netherlands. It's very good, highly recommended. So then, Matt, the pre-patch story. Take it away.
So there's a thing that happens.
Wow.
Where you wake up and go, I'll go to Dalaran now. No, I'll go to Silithus. And then you go to Silithus. And then you say, Magni, what's going on? And then Magni goes, shut up, I'm emo now. And then he decides to not be emo for 5 seconds because you say, please. Then he goes, what's going on? What's going on? We'll, oh shit, we explode. He explodes. And then we're like, oh no, Magni. Then we take him to Dalaran. And then we go, all right, see you in a month. Hope you're better by then, boss. Which is, that's a really terrible way to explain it, but it is a very, very, very short thing. What's almost more important than the actual Magni going through his emo phase, which is more of a she took the wins phase than emo. I mean, yeah, obviously, but that's just because of the Scottish accent he has, realistically. It is like
Has Xal'atath turned the winds against them?
potentially.
Oh, dearie me,
Yeah.
that's bad for
Yeah.
him. That's terrible.
Yeah, so what really happened is they decided to jam, I guess, they wanted to jam the introduction to Magni's quest, to Magni's character arc during the War Within. They realized that they didn't really have that set up enough, so they jammed it into a quest that was like 30 seconds long and gave us a reason to be in Dalaran. Then that chained into the Radiant Echoes with Khadgar being able to talk to us. But it is very slow. No, it's not. It's very fast, I mean. It's very short is what I was trying to say. It's very, very short. It's extremely short. It's just kind of over in a few seconds, and you're like, calling this a quest line is really fucking generous.
Yeah.
Really generous. Because you don't even do anything. You shoot up, teleport to Silithus, have some dialogue, go to Dalaran, done. Job's over. That's about it. You do get a little bit of like character stuff with us being introduced to Dagran for the first time, and him being all like, look at me, I'm a little fucking nerd reading books and shit. You're like, well, that's your character, sweet, sound, perfect. You have the Dalaran has an actual infirmary. Why didn't they use it?
No. We don't remember that. Memory hole.
Good question. Because they probably want us to be there. They probably want us to be in that room for the expansion thing. So it is really just a super quick, connective tissue to get us onto Dalaran, which is the Broken Isles still. Sound, that makes sense. So there's a little bit of that going on. So it's clearly like they didn't really put a whole bunch of effort in. All of the effort went into Darkheart instead, which was, and I think this is kind of a problem where there's a little bit of bits trying to mash certain bits together into being a coherent beginning, and it doesn't really super feel all of that way.
It's challenging for them because they're starting off a new era and they need to get some of their pieces in place. The production cycle of the expansion is to make the expansion good. Getting those pieces into place, however, in the short term is definitely kind of awkward. I think we saw that with a few things in Dragonflight. This is just a perfect example of that. I think this is less about the player experience, and this is about, you understand that Magni is unhappy now, and you understand these basic things, and you've seen the previously on video.
Which is
it's like, it's that thing, right? Is it a bit clunky? Is it a bit hand-fisted? Yes. However, I think they probably got people around in a meeting like, right, our players need to know this. What the hell are we going to do? We don't have time to make lots of new content for this problem that we've identified. So I think they just thought, okay, we're going to tie things together, make a sort of a narrative feeling supercut of our trailers and in-game content. And Magni will just tell the player. They know that show don't tell is a thing, but I think they're telling because they need you to know because of what they plan to show later. Which is unfortunate. It's not how you'd start a story ideally, but this isn't the normal way that stories are told, and it's a problem that MMOs have grappled with since they started really trying to have story in them.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through because I remember when I first watched this, I was like, oh, that's a detail that actually is, because obviously the way they narrate over the top of this, there's going to be different information coming through.
Yeah.
Was it this? Yes.
What they
And
they focus on will be revealing because
Yeah.
this is their current cut with their current authorial intent.
Yeah, so it was somewhere around here. Yeah, it was since been wounded by the Mad Titan, and it's kind of like, okay, well, that's putting the emphasis is on this thing that happened, that she's been wounded, which we see more of in the War Within, but it's like, it feels like this is BFA was a slight interlude, as was the Shadowlands at Dragonflight.
Yeah.
We're now kind of coming back to the end of Legion. There was something here which was, yes, N'Zoth was confronted by the mortal champions and destroyed, ending the old gods' plural reign of terror. So that's a pretty solid. The old gods aren't a problem anymore.
The old gods patch of terror.
Yeah, we've got Shadowlands, and everyone's like, "No, you're supposed to have retconned that out of existence." You're like, "No, they didn't.
You can't.
No, they didn't."
You can't.
Yeah.
I think all that they can do. You know what? It's a bit like whenever things go bad towards the end of the most recent Boys, and a character gets some bad goop put into their leg, but then they're like, "Well, this is a bad situation, but guess what we're going to do? We're going to extract the goop that's in your leg so we can make a bioweapon out of it." So I suppose turn lemons into lemonade. And I think that's basically the best that they can do. Like, I think the core thing that they're trying to do with Anduin is, like, potentially really good. Shadowlands could have landed a lot better than it did, obviously. But that is what has happened to that character. You can't just memory hole it like that. That wouldn't be the right move. What they can do, though, is they can build him up good in this expansion. Like, we know that that voice actor can do, like, really strong
Hell yeah.
vocal performances. So,
Hell yeah.
right now we're at the lemon stage. It still is a lemon, and the lemonade is to come. We hope.
I will say this is jarring as hell. We're a full like 2.5 minutes of nice new good things. You see Dalaran in a way I think we haven't seen before, and then cut to hyper realistic Thrall. You're like, oh my god, what's going on? Oh Jesus, that was a bit jarring. Then Bralis.
I mean, like, for some of these,
back.
you can tell the cinematic, you can tell the trailer, like that, thing moving in, establishing shot of Dalaran. That's from the patch. That's from the Broken Shore patch.
Is it?
I think that's from the intro cinematic to that, where all of our characters are at your man's, the place where you'd fly away from in Wrath, and they're all having a chit chat, and then the Legion stuff happens, and
of course,
Broken Shore patch.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not important.
Yeah, so that's the previously wraps up. It talks then about this without anything particularly new, and it's kind of interesting where this genuinely does like a lot of groundwork in setting up basically everything you might want to know in the grand scheme of things. And I'm quite impressed by it. I was not impressed by the fact that it plays immediately as soon as you open the game. Or as you log in, rather. That was really jarring, because I don't even know how you would see that. Say if you missed it or skipped it because you were confused.
Could be jarring for you and me, but maybe they are sort of saying, you're logging in, this is a new episode. So just like...
Yeah, this is a new episode.
Whatever, we're going to give you the proper recap thing.
Yeah, this new episode, which is coming in a month, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is the weird thing. Like, the story structure of the pre-patch always feels odd to me. Which for a variety of different ways, because I'm assuming people have been leveling. I'm assuming people have been leveling with the pre-patch event, and for a variety of other reasons. And I don't know if you've hit level 70 and looked at the chat log. But if you hit 70 and look at the chat log, you know what it says? New dungeon unlocked. Arakara, City of Echoes.
Look at that. They've even given you a free sample of the next expansion.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I understand. I can see that and go, right, okay. That is that's the next expansion dungeon. I cannot do that right now. Sweet.
Yeah, you just think, that's an oopsie. But if you're not you...
If you're not me, you go, I wonder how I'd get that dungeon.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know how to get that. What? I don't see it anywhere. It's not on my dungeon list. What's going on? That's weird. That's weird and confusing and hateful, etc., etc., etc. Which is very, very awkward. But that and the fact that hero talents are literally there, unlocked at level 71. And you go, how do I get to level 71? The game doesn't tell me I can't. Shit. Which is just something like that. That's a part of the player experience that I think about a little bit too much, considering how the vast majority of the players probably go, oh yeah, well, I know that. I know that, but anyway, that was the story from the pre-patch. Magni begins his emo phase, more or less. He begins his emo phase, and we're now in Dalaran.
And I'll say it's actually a good arc. You know, has the potential to be a good arc.
I think it's a very good arc on paper. I think it's not the greatest arc because different parts of it are communicated very poorly to people. Mostly that we've been hanging around with Magni for ages, and he's not once had a wee cry about anything.
And you mean right now, or
I mean right now, like, yeah, if you go, well, what did Magni do throughout the entirety of the time you knew him? And he's like, oh, he's the annoying boy who shouts about wounds. Or like, yeah, well, that's cool, but
that's the thing where the expansion is made, and they know what they're doing with him in that expansion, but they haven't been able to do all of the groundwork that would have been ideal. And if this time right now does represent them moving into a phase where they actually do have a plan, I mean, do they have a plan? Certainly, you know, the Cylons. There are 12 models, and they have a plan. And for the first 2 seasons, you're like, I wonder what that is. And then by the end, you're like, what was the plan? What? I get it. I think, the macro narrative is kind of sensible. I like how a lot of Magni's personal struggles are quite well reflected in the Earthen society that he ends up meeting. And I don't know, I think it's actually good to have Magni be a character instead of just fucking wounds.
Oh yeah, it's way better to have him like that. It's just almost the same with Anduin, where where you see the place they come from, and you're kind of like, how the fuck did you get there? It's the thing for Anduin. It's kind of like, well, how did you get to this point, by the way? And obviously the recap shows it, but I think people will be like, I'll take your word for it. There's a lot of taking your word for it at the beginning of this expansion, which is kind of what occurs an awful lot if you try to start in the middle and end an arc, as opposed to start at the beginning, which is the thing here. No one's beginning an arc and then ending it. They're starting slap bang in the middle.
Yeah.
And then coming to the end, which is something that's going to be felt very much in the storytelling.
What we will have to hope for, and of course, do not pre-order based on hopes, pre-order based on delivery. But I guess the thing we have to hope for
there's
is
early access, so you have to pre-order the Epic Edition.
Modern industry. I suppose, the thing that's in my head is basically, if this is an era of them having a plan, you'd hope that these things will flow together smoothly from now on. And we won't have to do a last time in World of Warcraft that just glosses over loads of stuff. But again, I mean, we can't make a call on that until we're a few patches in, and maybe a few patches into Midnight, which will be out next year. Faster, an expansion every month. No, I'm taking the piss. About every 18 months is what we're expecting.